Hey, how's it going? It's been a while since I made any videos on this channel, so I noticed there was a need for video regarding this camera. This is the Panasonic X2. It is a camcorder. It's awesome. I love it, but there is no videos showing what it does, like how to set it up and all that stuff. So I thought maybe I'd go ahead and make a video showing the setup, um, so that you guys can, have some kind of reference, because if you're a beginner, it's really hard to figure out how to set this thing up, because there's like, even the instruction manual is very unclear. So um, right here we got the screen. And so I just want to let you know, like, I am going to just be using the menu button. Maybe I'll show you actually on the side of the camera. So if you can see here, there is like a menu button right there, an exit button right there. So that's like your back button, basically. And then your selectors right here. There's like a wheel and also click it to select. So this is specifically when we're in manual mode. So there is a little switch right here to switch back and forth between manual and auto mode. So really, if you're a beginner, just switch it into auto and you're good to go. That's it. Literally, you don't need to do anything else. The only other thing would be turning on face detect AF and AE. So there is like a face detect auto exposure, auto focus. And I have that set to be one of these custom buttons. Let me see here. So which one is it? Okay, so I set that to be the first button, the first user button up here. So that turns on and off my face detect. But you can program these buttons to be whatever you want. So I'm going to go over that with you here. Let me get this in place and turn this on here so you can see. So basically, when you have face detect AFAE on, it's going to auto expose to people's faces and autofocus on their faces too. And that'll work in both auto mode and manual mode. And so you see, like, when I hit the button, you can see right up, where is it? Right there, face AFAE. So you can see that turning on and off when I hit this button. And so I just programmed that. So that's like your only button that you really need to worry about if you're a beginner. But I'm going to go ahead and flip it over into manual mode. And so now we can adjust everything manually. But again, if you're a beginner, just do auto. It honestly, it does a really good job. You don't need to worry about this other stuff. But so basically, to set it up, your first thing you're going to want to do, hit menu, and then we're going to go down into system. And in system here, I wish I could adjust the exposure on my camera there. Well, I'm using an iPhone for this view, so I can't really adjust the exposure. So anyways, you see the frequency. Set the frequency to whoops. So again, I just click the wheel in to get to select anything. So if you're in the United States, select 59.94 hertz for your frequency. And then if you're in the UK, select 50 hertz. That's basic. You should know that, unless you're, again, really beginner. But yeah, that's kind of how it is. UK 50 hertz, United States 60 hertz, and that's just because that's how our TVs are made. Goes back to the broadcast days. File format. So generally, you're going to want to do MOV. These other forms are just for, like, if you're trying to save space, do AVC HD. But you're going to have to use one of the selected profiles in the camera. MP4 is, I think, saving a little space too, but MOV will unlock your full 10-bit 422. So if you want to take full advantage of this camera, just go to MOV. So we selected that, and then your recording format right here. This is all your different formats that you can select. So generally, I'm just doing 4K, 30 frames per second, 422 long GOP. So kind of the differences between these, 420 long GOP is like your 420 8-bit. So that's going to be like if you want to use one of the profiles built into the cameras, just do the 8-bit stuff, 420. But that's honestly, you're probably going to want to go to MP4 to use those. They don't really even give you the option of 420 until you get all the way up into 4K 24 frames per second. And then up here, 4K 30. And they also have it here at 4K 60. So I'm pretty sure those are 420 8-bit, I think. It could be 420 10-bit. I'm not sure, actually. But I know if you're trying to save space, just go down to MP4, and those are, I think, all 8-bit. We could take a quick peek. Let's see. Because it is a bit confusing. Yeah, so now we're in MP4, and in MP4 we got 420 long GOP. Okay, so never mind. What I was saying before, I think oh yeah. Okay, so this is right. So the 420 long GOP, that's got to be your 8-bit stuff. And then the 420 HEVC, that's going to be your 10-bit stuff. So that's 10-bit 420 versus 10-bit 422, and that's just, the difference in colors. You got more colors with 422. So you want to do 422 when possible, but if you're just trying to do like what is it called? There's a certain color profile that you can use the 420 10-bit, the HEVC, high efficiency video codec. That's like your H.265 codec. But then again, if you want to save a lot of space, go to your HEVC, and you can see these files are going to be just super tiny. Oh, it's not actually showing what the file sizes are in this one, but they're super tiny. It's like 28 megabits per second. Super, super small files. That's if you're like recording all day and you really don't want to use a lot of space. But again, for anything that's 8-bit, you're not going to want to use Vlog. You're going to want to use some sort of built-in color profile for 8-bit stuff. So that's why I just go to MOV. I always do that, and I always use 422 long GOP for everything. The high efficiency codec works too. That's a HEVC. These are fine. Like, they'll get the job done. But it's not quite as good as 422 long GOP, which is your 422 10-bit. The HEVC is 420 10-bit, like I said. So if you're going into 4K 60, your 420 long GOP, that's going to be your 8-bit, and you're really only going to want to use that if you're using the built-in profiles. For Vlog, I recommend going with the HEVC ones, either 100 megabits per second or 200. I'd probably go with 200 just to give yourself plenty of color space. That's going to be like your best possible look in 4K 60. Personally, I don't shoot in 60 on this camera because this is long form stuff. I'm not going to ever be slowing this down. This is all long form, and I do 30 frames per second for everything because Instagram these days conforms all your videos to 30, so they look choppy. If you ever are like cutting things up for Instagram, if you got it at 24, it's going to be choppy when you conform it to 30. If you have it at 60, it's fine conforming to 30. That's okay. But I never do 24 anymore, even though it's more cinematic. But I mean, nobody really notices the difference anyways. So I always just do 30 or 60 personally, just because of Instagram. A lot of my stuff ends up on Instagram. So yeah, you could, the all I codec down here, that's just like, it's still it's a 422 10-bit profile, I believe, but it's like a lot of extra information for no reason. All they're doing is just not compressing it. So it's like the same as 422 long GOP, but uncompressed. And I have yet to see anyone prove that you really get anything out of that over the 422 long GOP. I'd rather just save the space and do the 422 long GOP, 422 10-bit. So anyways, all that being said, this thing pretty much lives on 4K, 30 frames per second, 422 long GOP, 150 megabits per second. Personally, that's what I always keep it at. There's an option for super slow. I don't really know how that works. I think you probably have to have that in a special thing, special codec or something. I'm not sure. You can look in the manual to find out how to do super slow-mo. But again, this is a camcorder. The camcorders are made for long-form events. That's really all they're good for. Maybe a documentary, something like that. But you're really not going to be wanting to film stuff that you're going to slow down later, slow-mo stuff. Use a DSLR for that kind of stuff. I really don't. I don't recommend using this camera for that kind of stuff. But if it's your only camera, then I can understand like why you might want to do that. Shooting mode, normal or high sensitivity. So I don't know what that does actually. I imagine it's probably something for low light. Look it up in the manual. It probably does tell you what that does. If you go to high sensitivity, might be if it's like super dark, low light stuff, which I don't do a ton of, to be honest. Okay, so that's system. What about others? Let me try clicking on that. Okay, so that's just your LEDs, clock, USB device, stuff like that. Eco mode, all that shit that you really don't need to worry about any of this stuff. You'll never really need to adjust that. That's just to change how it names your files and whatever the clock is set to, all that stuff. Like, I'm not going to worry about it. You guys can figure that out. Eco mode. I just turn all that stuff off because I don't want the camera to shut off on me while I'm trying to record. And then we'll skip network for now. I would say the next thing to go into is recording, and all this stuff down here, I don't really mess with. You can set up a pre-recording so that it records like 3 seconds before you hit record at all times, and that's cool and all, but I personally don't need it. So it uses more battery. I'm not going to worry about that. Time code. Well, if you guys can figure out time code if you need it. This is really for beginners. So most likely you're not going to use time code as a beginner. Rec counter. That's counting the number of clips you have or something. Number of times you hit record, I guess. Doesn't affect anything. It's just like on the back end. I wouldn't worry about it. What this one, 2 slots function, that's what you want to worry about. So I have mine for simultaneously recording into both of them. You can set it to relay record. So that way when one card fills up, it switches over and starts recording on the next card. But me as a professional, who does this for a living, I want it to record to both cards at the same time. So I hit simultaneous record, and that way, if one of the cards fails, I have a backup. So, you know, as a professional, I want a backup. I want this to be able to, you know, like not fail on me. If one of the cards dies for whatever reason, I got a backup. So, I always leave it on simultaneously recording. I just use 256 gigabyte cards. Show you here. So in case you needed to know which card to get this one. That's your SanDisk Extreme Pro 200 megabits per second, 256 gigabyte card. You can get 128 if you want, whatever, or 512. It's a V30 class 10. It'll work for every mode. They work great. I've never had one fail. I love them. So that's your card that you're going to want to use. I use them on all the Lumix cameras as well. So once you got your cards in there and everything, you can change your clip, how it names your clips and stuff, but I don't worry about that. I just let it do whatever it wants, name it however it wants, keeps them in order with the names. So whatever, it's fine. Format media. So you come here, you get to select which one you want to format. So slot 1, select that. The card in slot 1 will be formatted. Hit set at the top. So formatted, and then we go down to slot 2, same thing. Go up to set. All right. So now we are formatted. We're ready to start recording. So we'll come back over here. Video out. This is like your settings for what, if you're going HDMI out or SDI out, you can select this kind of stuff. I wouldn't really worry about this unless you're going into like a video switcher or something. So I always just do my out format 1080p because I use ATEM Mini Extreme ISO or ATEM Mini Pro ISO to go to record to, and both of those are 1080p anyway. So 1080p out of the HDMI. I have it selected to be HDMI out because I don't need SDI and HDMI at the same time, so I keep that off. I just don't want to use extra battery. So I always do HDMI out because I don't have any SDI receivers, so it doesn't matter. For HDMI setting, so this is kind of, it depends on how you set up everything, but like I said, I do everything in Vlog. And so when you have Vlog, you can go down here, if you're already in Vlog for your color profile, HDMI out Vlog, and then you can select whether it puts out Vlog or whether it puts out V709, which is their Rec 709 LUT. It's the same as the nicest 709 LUT from the Panasonic website. So that's the LUT that I use in post. So like that's the main one that I use. So I just put that as my output and I'm good to go. Like all my cameras, it'll match all of my all of my Lumix cameras. It'll match them perfectly because they're using that exact same LUT. They're also shooting in Vlog, and they're also using the Rec 709 LUT going out of the HDMI port. So when I put it into the ATEM Mini, they all look exactly the same, all perfectly the same colors. That's the only way you're going to match your Lumix cameras is if you do Vlog and you do the V709 out. That's the only way to match them. There's no other way. I literally emailed them and asked them, and I was like, how come you don't have the same color profiles as Lumix cameras? And they told me, this is not Lumix, this is Panasonic. It's a different company, technically, so we don't really work directly with Lumix for their color profiles. I found that very interesting because they're both Panasonic company, under the Panasonic brand. So whatever, that pissed me off, but at least we can match them if we do it with the Rec 709, so that's nice. This is just your LCD brightness and contrast and all that. I don't mess with any of it. LCD VF Vlog. So this is what your LCD screen, this screen that you're looking at right here, this is what it looks like. So you can have it look as Vlog, which I don't know why you would ever want to see that, because you can't tell what the colors are if you're looking at Vlog. So you're going to want to select this to V709 as well, because then it's got the LUT on it, Rec 709 LUT. Indicator, I don't think I messed with any of that stuff. Markers, these are just safety markers, frame markers. I don't really bother. I didn't mess with any of that stuff. Focus assist, I don't really like focus assist too much, but I think there's a button on the side. Yeah, there is a focus assist button right here. So yeah, I literally didn't mess with any of this stuff. EI assist. Okay, so this is going to be like, this will be your zebras and stuff. Waveform mode. Oh, that's your, if you want to show your waveform, there is also a waveform button, I believe, on the side of the camera. Yeah, right next to the zebra thing, underneath where your SD cards go in. You can turn your waveform on and off. So, again, I didn't mess with any of this stuff. Basically just leave it as it is. Level gauge, yeah, I do want that on so I can see when it's level, but also, for some reason, it's not letting me click on the zebra stuff. Probably because it's in autofocus. I see. Does it let me select it now? Well, I don't know. It's not letting me select it, but I always want my zebras at. I honestly usually I do one of my zebras at 80% and the other one at 95%, but pretty much I just let this thing auto expose anyway, so it doesn't matter. It has my zebras off. Oh, maybe it's because I'm in auto exposure. Maybe that's why it's not letting me select that stuff. So if you turn off auto exposure, it'll probably let you select that stuff. But again, like the autofocus, auto exposure, face detect thing works really well. So I just do that if I want it to. I mean, for the most part. But if I want to set it myself, like a lot of times with events, if I'm doing multicam, I want to set it myself, so I'll shut it off and set that stuff myself. But I use the waveform when I'm doing, just because this thing has it, so I don't even bother with zebras most of the time anyways. Because waveform's a little more accurate. So, yeah, that's all that stuff. So let's see, we did recording, we did video. Let's go to audio real quick. So input settings, both of these, I put them down to -60 just because a lot of things tend to be hot. So for my mic level inputs, I just put it -60 for everything. And then line level, I just leave it at where it's at. But I don't really use line level ever personally. You can raise it up if you want, but I don't. I only use this with the Rode NTG1 shotgun microphone. I have that mounted up here. It fits perfectly. I think that's honestly what it's designed for, is this particular mic. And it works fine. I just put it on auto. On the side of it, you can select. Let me see here. I'm looking at it right now. I have so many different cameras. I'm trying to remember how I do that. So record channel settings. Let's see, I think that's where it is. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so under record channel settings, I just set it to auto because I'm using a shotgun mic. It'll be fine on auto. And then same thing with channel 2, because usually I just set channel 2 to be this whatever's going into channel 1. But auto, I find, works pretty well. Unless you're trying to go like line level into it, then you might not want to do auto, but for the most part, it's fine. I never turn on low cuts because I can do that in post. No limiters, because again, I'm gonna do that in post. If I'm gonna turn on a low cut or a limiter or anything like that, that's gonna be done in post. So I mean, that's neat that it's here, but I don't see a reason to do that. Headroom, I just put it on the max just so that in case there's peaks or whatever, we're fine. And I'll bring that up and normalize it in post. So, and again, I'm really almost never using the audio from the camera. I don't know if I mentioned that, but if you see some of my other comments in the group, the Panasonic X2 group on Facebook, I always put my audio from the boards going into a Zoom F3 because that's 32-bit float. And then I can match it up with this camera because I have a mic on the camera. So you just match it in post with, it's automatic in most applications. I use Premiere and you just click synchronize and it synchronizes them. So, why go into the camera for your audio when you don't have to for your clean audio? So I pretty much never use the audio from the camera unless it's like a running gun, just people talking into the mic on the camera, something like that. Output settings. This is for your audio out. I always just do channel 1 and 2 stereo. You can do a mix where it's both of them going into your headphones, but I like to do stereo so then I can hear, channel 1 in my left ear, channel 2 in my right ear, and what each one sounds like, if you actually do have something else going into channel 2. Alarm, I don't even know. Okay. I keep those all on low. That's battery end, media end, warnings, all that stuff on low just to keep it not too loud. But I do want a little bit of sound because I tend to miss those things if I don't hear a sound with it. Cool. And then your scene file. So up here, file select. So you can do HD is a pretty good one. HLG, that's what I was trying to think of earlier. HLG is what you would use if you're doing the 72 megabits per second, which is like your H.265 codec, where it's 420 10-bit. That's that HEVC type stuff. You can do HLG with that. These other ones are a little weird. Spark is weird. Still is okay. Cine is okay. HD is kind of like the most normal looking one. They don't really have a standard profile. I don't like any of the profiles on here, so that's why I always do Vlog. I think Vlog, and again, I shoot on a bunch of Lumix cameras. I have like 6 or 7 Lumix cameras, so I have what do I got? 3 S5s, an S1, G9 2, the original G9, and the GH5S. So I try to match them all, so I always just do Vlog so that they all match. And then all this stuff, I don't do variable frame rate, but you can. That's just so you can do slow-mo stuff. Synchro scan. I didn't know it had this. Wait, let me see. Oh, right. I know what the synchro scan is. So synchro scan lets you do change your shutter to 60.4. It's very precise. And I personally don't really know what that's good for other than maybe trying to match the flicker rate of a screen that you're filming, or if your lights are flickering, you can try to match those using synchro scan. but for the most part, I leave it off because I don't want to accidentally bump my shutter to 60.1 if I don't have to. And then again, like all this other stuff, like really, you shouldn't be even messing with it. When I'm in Vlog, most of this stuff is I can't even select. See how it's skipping over a bunch of it? It goes sync scan down to RB gain control. So all this stuff is being skipped over because Vlog is a very set thing. Like that's a color profile that they set and gives you. It's almost like not having a color profile. It gives you like everything. It's almost like raw video, sort of. But it's like a lot of this stuff is just turned off. So I can't even mess with master pedestal or anything. Gamma mode, I'm not even sure. Oh, that's the same thing as what I was doing. So it's selected in Vlog, but that's the same thing as what you select up here, file select. These are just your quick presets that you have, but then there's more. If you go down to gamma mode select, you get all of them. So you get still like, cine like, V, cine like D, film like, SD, HD. I don't know why they name it like that. SD and HD. That's weird. Like nobody's filming in SD. It's such a weird naming convention. I feel like this whole menu is probably stolen from a very old camera. So, it's stuff that you wouldn't even like do anymore, like SDHD, whatever. Noise reduction control, you can turn that down if you want less noise reduction, but I just leave it on 0. I don't want to mess with any of this stuff. Auto exposure level, whoops. I think that turns on your exposure compensation. So your AE level effect, you can have it go, you can select like plus or minus, and that's really if you're just doing auto exposure, but it'll expose like plus 0.3 stops or plus 1 stop, whatever you want to expose over. I usually do 1 stop over for Vlog, but it's not a big deal if you just leave it on 0. I don't even think I have it on at all. On this camera, I think I tested it and I was like, you know what? It does a good job just leaving it off. So, and that's probably just resets the level every time you shut off the camera or something. So then up here is your camera SW mode versus user mode. So SW mode is, hang on, let me see what the difference. Oh, okay, yeah. So the user one is to set your user presets, and that's all the buttons on the side. So this is how I have it set up because, like I said, I wanted to have face detect. So I put that on one of them. Oh, it's on user 1. I guess I have that on 2 of these. I don't even know where the button number 12 is. Oh, you know what? Button number 12 is probably like one of the buttons on the screen because I think you only get like 8 buttons. Maybe 7. I think you only get like 7 buttons, and then after that, some of the buttons are like always a certain button. It's so confusing which user buttons are which because they're not all marked correctly on the camera itself. But I think the reason why I have face detect twice is some of them are on the touch screen here when you exit. Let me exit real quick and see. Well, actually, I don't see any user presets on here, so I don't know. There's probably, I'm looking around the camera now trying to see where the buttons might be. I don't really know why there's 2 of them. Again, this is why Panasonic really needs to do an in-depth video about this, but I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, so I just set the first 7 to what I need them to be, and then the rest of them, it's just like, well, I don't know. I don't need them. I never use them. So, yeah, and then you can set what your zoom ring does and what your iris ring does and all this stuff. I don't bother setting any of this stuff. Like, I just leave it on normal. The only thing that I did do was for my user setting, fast zoom for user number 2. And that just allows you to use the zoom rocker on top of the camera. It makes it faster. Because when you first have it turned on, it's kind of slow. So, and it auto defaults to off. So it doesn't zoom super fast. And I want to zoom fast sometimes. So I turn that on with the button on the side. So I turn on, but face AF AE does stay on when you turn off the camera, but the fast zoom turns off every time you turn off the camera. Super annoying, but I just have it programmed to a button so on the side. So super easy. To turn it on real quick. And then the only other settings in here is your network. And so this stuff can be quite confusing and daunting, but essentially you select either USB tethering if you're using your phone, because I plug my iPhone into it and it will use that as the network. You can also just use like a wireless LAN or a connected LAN. That's just the cable coming out of your router, Cat5 cable. This has a Cat5 spot, port on the back by the HDMI port. So you can use regular or wireless, but if you go wireless, let's set it. It has to restart. Not really sure why. And then, so now, go back to network. Now that we're on the LAN, we can find our WLAN property. No, maybe not. Actually, no, that's not what we want. Let's try it. WLAN IP4 setting. Okay, well, that'll give you your IP address and all of that stuff. Let me see. Information status. Well, that's your MAC address. We're not connected to anything, so utility. You can check the network or initialize probably everything on your network. Like it'll reset all this stuff. Let's go to IP remote, see what that is. It's probably like a remote that uses your network to control things. I'm not sure. I don't know what that is. Streaming protocol. So RTMP is like, you got RTMP and RTSP. RTMP is what you're going to want to use generally. And then you have all this stuff. And that's your stream key. I don't actually know what this is too. This is probably an old stream key. It probably doesn't even work anymore, to be honest. So, but yeah, this is where you enter your stream key. Oh man, there's a shitload of numbers in here. So yeah, I'm not gonna bother with this. Let me delete this stream key. I just don't want you guys to see what that stream key is, because it's a really long stream key. Because I don't want you guys to just start streaming on one of my channels. I literally don't know which one that's going to. It looks like it's probably Facebook, one of my Facebooks. All right, let me bring it back up. Okay, so now I deleted enough that you guys aren't going to be able to stream to my Facebook account. So basically, you type in FB dash and then enter your stream key. Or maybe FB is part of the stream key. I don't remember. You'll have to look it up. I always look it up every time, but I think you might just enter this stuff and then enter your stream key. So what all this stuff is your server, basically. So when you're in let me see what's over here. You got to enter your what do you call it? You enter your server stuff first. There, now you can see like the very beginning of it. So you enter your server stuff first, and then you enter the stream key at the end of it. So they're both in a string, essentially. So you got your Facebook server, facebook.com/RTMP, and then after that other slash, that's where your stream key goes. So again, I'm not going to mess with it anymore because I don't really know. I have to look that up every time, but I'm pretty sure you just put your server, receiver, server first, and then slash stream key. And then you can choose where it saves your connection info. I just have it saved to the internal memory, or you could save it to the SD card if you want. Then you can save and load SD cards, and that way you don't have to enter all this stuff every single time. So yeah, that's how streaming works. WLAN property. Oh, okay. So this is where you should be able to find your network. Okay. So yeah, this is where you find all your networks. So like you can select NixNet and then encrypt key, I believe, is your password for the for the network. So you select your network right here, and then you type in your password right here. And you can select the encryption type, but I don't think I even mess with any of that. It just depends on what your stuff is. So cool. Yeah, that's pretty much it. And then again, your IP address and stuff is here if you need to find it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. That's everything. So let me come back out to here. So basically, on the side, these buttons are all self-explanatory, but I showed you where you can set these buttons to be whatever you want. And then like if you want to select different, select your shutter speed or whatever, I'm just going to click shutter and then adjust it with the wheel. So I got my shutter to manual or auto. Go to manual, you can select it however you want. And then same thing with gain. You can do gain manual or gain auto just by clicking that gain button on the side of the camera, and it'll switch between auto and manual. And then same thing with your iris, manual or auto. I just leave it all on auto. Honestly, personally, I leave the iris and the gain on auto most of the time, unless I'm doing an event where I don't want it to change, like a play or anything with a stage. Like I don't really want my exposure changing while the lights are changing, because those lights are changing on purpose. Like the guy who's running the lighting, if it's getting dark, they want the stage to be dark. So don't like crank your ISO trying to see in the dark. The person watching the show is going to not be able to see as well. So that's the idea. Like, you want it to be dark when the lights are dark. You want it to be light when the lights are light. So that's why, like, I'll go to manual gain if for like a show, and I'll usually do manual white balance for a show too, unless, I mean, if it's a show that's like I'm just doing one camera, then sometimes it'll do auto white balance. It's fine. But if I'm doing multicam, definitely set your white balance on all of them. And usually I just do 5600 Kelvin, unless it's, if it's orange lighting, you're going to want to do 3200. If it's white lighting, 5600. If it's a mix of orange and white lighting, I do 4400 Kelvin. And then also right here, focus, auto or manual, you can, switch them. You got your focus assist button that just like crops in so you can see closer. That crop doesn't show up in post. It doesn't show up in your video. That crop is just so that you can see while you're focusing. But it might show up in your HDMI out, depending if you have it set to be a clean HDMI out or set to be, what do you call it? Like a display setting HDMI out where it shows all the displays. I will go ahead. Let me see here. See if I can't. So, right here, I'll show you. I usually just leave these right in the center because, again, my audio is on auto level. And then for channel 1, I got channel 1 is input 1. And then channel 2, I also have that as input 1. So that way both my channels are just this mic, right? Like, trying to figure this out there. So this mic right here is going into channel 1 right there. So basically, when I select input 1 for both of these over here, that means both channels is going to be that. So I know somebody else in this group had it like that, and they might not have even realized they were using the internal mic. That's what int are. That's your internal mic. So it's the mic that's built into the camera, and that's always going to sound like shit. So I just do input 1 for both of those, or if I have something going into input 2, just switch it to input 2. And then you can select this. So like my mic is a shotgun mic, so I got that on 48 volts. Right, to provide phantom power. The only time I ever put a mic into the other one, it's always just like a Rode Wireless Go with an adapter to go into the XLR, and so that's mic level. But if you're getting line level from a board, just switch it to line. You're good. That's it. That's how you do all that. Super simple. Like I said, there's your onboard image stabilizer. I usually just leave it on the regular one. There is a pan and tilt mode. If you're on like a tripod, pan and tilt mode's good for that. But the regular stable mode, or there is a stable mode. Sorry, the regular mode is best if you're like kind of running around, maybe on a monopod. Stable mode is good if you're like on a monopod and you're filming something that's not moving, because it'll stabilize it to where it looks like it's on a tripod. Essentially, you could be handheld, it'll look like it's on a tripod in the stable mode, but you don't want to do that if you're panning around and stuff. You just want to leave it in regular mode. If you're like on a monopod running around or handheld, but if you're on sticks, do the pan tilt mode. Digital zoom I don't think I have it set to digital zoom. It says invalid when I click it. So I probably never even set that one. I'm not even sure what it does. And then again, like you got your gain, shutter, white balance, auto focus, manual focus. That's infinity focus. So you push down on that. Now it's just focus as far away as it can. You can be in manual focus and push to autofocus like that'll just autofocus while you push it. And then again, that's your focus assist to turn that on. And then to change your iris right here. And then there's the auto white balance button right down here. It's hard to show you. Let me see if I can't show you. Auto white balance. So you hit that and it'll auto white balance to whatever. Like you could be in manual white balance, but you hit that and it'll auto white balance. So let me go over into like a manual mode, and then you hit it once and bam, it auto white balances. Actually, it looks like it's cycling through my presets when I click on that. I don't know. But you can go into like a, so I'm clicking on, let me show you here. I'm clicking on white balance here. I'm trying to show it to you. Okay, so I'm clicking on white balance. You can see over here in the corner, it's changing things. And so it's in auto white balance now. And then now it's over in the V, which means you can change it to whatever you want. I know it's kind of overexposed, but you can change it to whatever you want when it goes into that mode. 54, 55, 56. There we go. So yeah, like I said, I leave it in 56 most of the time. Or now when I hit it again, these are my presets, and then I just hit that auto white. Oh, auto white balance, NG low light. Okay, so it's too dark for the auto white balance because I have the lens cover closed. But when I'm in the V mode and I start hitting that button down here, this one, then it starts cycling through my presets. So I got 3200, 5600. Then if I hit white balance again, it'll go over into my 4400. I don't know. It's a very strange the way it. If I just hit the white balance button, it goes through 56 or 44. But to get to the 32, I have to hit this button down here. I don't know. It's very strange the way these buttons work, but just click around on them and eventually you'll get it to work. But again, I usually just leave it at 5600 for the most part, because most of the time I'm shooting in daylight conditions or white lighting, but sometimes I'll do 44 or 32 depending on the lighting. So, yeah, I think that's it. Oh, there's some buttons on the top here. Thumbnail, counter, reset, display mode. The display one just changes whether it's showing your display here. And then thumbnail, you click that, and that's how you get to stuff that you've recorded. You get to go look at your clips. Now, I haven't recorded anything. I already formatted these cards, so there's nothing when I hit thumbnail. But and then this stuff is just like your counter reset for your time code up here. So you can reset that right here, and let's see what happens. So you just turn on and off your time code. I don't even use time code, so I just leave it on that one. And now it's back to 0. I just reset it. So that means it'll be, it'll go up as I record. So I know like how much I recorded since the last time I reset it, you know. But yeah, so that's pretty much it. There is a record button on top here underneath this little cover. I never do that. That's your other zoom. I never use that. All I use is the zoom rocker, or I'm zooming with my ring right here. Focus, zoom, and iris. So yeah, that's how I use the camera. I mainly use it for events. Honestly, that's pretty much all I use it for. I'll use it for weddings or corporate events. And that's pretty much it. And the main, like I said, the main reason why you use a camcorder is for that huge zoom range. And so that's why they really shine at events. Or if you're doing run and gun for like a documentary, that shines for that stuff too, because you never know when you need like a far zoom. And then also like you're getting a lot of like audio, like, you know, close. With a documentary, you're filming like a bunch of quick interviews and stuff, and you want to just have a lot of options for documentary. So this makes it an excellent documentary camera. If I was going to be running around filming somebody and it was very like, I don't know what's going to happen, like if I'm following around an ambulance as a documentary of what that ambulance does on their day to day and stuff like that, like that's when I would use this. Anything like that, events, documentaries, that's pretty much it. Otherwise, like I'm gonna want to use a DSLR, or not really a DSLR, a mirrorless. I've never actually even owned a DSLR. I've only owned mirrorless cameras because my first camera was the GH4 Lumix. So yeah, that's any other types of situations. You're going to probably want to use a mirrorless because you just have so much more options with the lenses and shallow depth of field and stuff like that. This is more of a run and gun. Like you just need to capture stuff with one camera and it has to do everything in one convenient location. This can't be beat. This is amazing. Like a DSLR will not have a 24 to 600 millimeter equivalent lens. It's not possible. They can't build something like that for a mirrorless. So, yeah, that's the Panasonic X2. So, hopefully this helps some of you guys out there. I know this video is like an hour long, but what are you gonna do? That's how long it took me to go through everything, and I didn't even go through like everything because, like I said, some of the stuff I just don't use, and I don't know what the hell it is. But that's how I use the camera. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and I'm probably gonna start doing more stuff on this channel regarding just tips and tricks and things like that. So hit follow if you want to hear more tips and tricks on camera stuff, and thanks for stopping by. Take care.